Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into one of the trickiest concepts in all of finance, how risk actually piles up in a portfolio. And it often happens in ways you just can't see on the surface. It's one of those things where our gut feeling can be just plain wrong, so let's get into it.
So we've all been told the same thing, right? Diversify. Spread your investments out across different things and you'll be safe. But what if I told you that safety is kind of like a mirage? Something that looks solid until you get close, and then it just disappears right when you need it the most.
All right, so let's kick things off with this really powerful idea. A portfolio isn't just a shopping cart with a bunch of different items in it. It's more like a complex, living, breathing thing where every single part is connected to every other part. And getting that, well, that's the absolute key to understanding what real risk is.
First up, let's just tear down the biggest, most dangerous assumption people make about risk.
It just seems so logical, doesn't it? You add one safe asset, then another, and another. Your overall risk should be nice and low. It's like 1 + 1 = 2, right? More safe stuff means more safety. But that's exactly where we go wrong. That's the myth. The reality is, a portfolio's risk is not just the sum of the risks you can see.
So, if it's not simple addition, what is it? And this, right here, is where it gets super interesting. The real story, the real driver of risk, is hidden in the connections, in the invisible web of interactions between every single thing you own. Here's the deal. The total risk of your portfolio, it's not really about the individual pieces. What really runs the show, what dominates the entire equation, is the sum of how every single position interacts with every other position. It's all about those correlations, those relationships that actually control how the whole system behaves. And check this out, because this is where the math really blows your mind. As you add more positions, let's call it n, the number of individual risks just goes up one by one. It grows linearly. But the number of interactions between them, that number explodes. It grows exponentially, as n squared. For any decent-sized portfolio, the interactions just completely overwhelm everything else. So adding more stuff doesn't make things simpler. It creates a massive explosion of complexity.
Okay, so that leads us to a really big, kind of scary question. If diversification is supposed to work because of these interactions, why does it so often feel like it just evaporates during a crisis?
And here's the absolute key to understanding this. Correlation, it's not some fixed number you can just write down and forget about. Think of it more like a chameleon. It completely changes its color depending on the environment, depending on the state of the market. The relationships you see in calm times, they're not the same ones you get in a panic. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. In normal markets, everything's cool. Your assets have low correlation, they're all kind of doing their own thing, and diversification works like a charm. But then, a crisis hits, and suddenly, bam, everything starts moving together. Correlations slam towards one. I mean, think back to 2008. All these supposedly different mortgage products all started moving in perfect lockstep. Why? Because the market state changed, and one single risk factor took over the whole game. The diversification you were counting on, it just vanished.
Man, this quote just nails it. You can own stocks, bonds, real estate, crypto. You can feel totally diversified because the labels are different. But if they're all secretly vulnerable to the same underlying driver, like say a sudden change in interest rates, then you are not diversified at all. What you really have is one giant bet, just dressed up in a bunch of different costumes.
But wait, it gets even wilder. The connections aren't just about prices moving together. There's this whole other layer, this invisible financial plumbing, that can tie your portfolio in knots during a crisis, connecting things you thought were totally separate.
Just look at some of these. Maybe two of your positions rely on the same bank for funding, or they depend on the same counterparty. I mean, think about it. A loss over here triggers a margin call, and suddenly you're forced to sell something over there that was doing great just to get cash. See how they're connected now? Standard risk models completely miss this stuff. But this is exactly what made the 2008 crisis so bad. Problems in one tiny corner of the market spread like a virus through the whole system.
And this right here, this quote just hits you right between the eyes. Your standard portfolio math, yeah, it's great for measuring how returns wiggle around on a spreadsheet, but it tells you absolutely nothing about how all your positions might go down in flames together when the system is under stress. And it's that correlation of failure that can actually wipe you out.
Okay, so what do we do about all this? How do we actually deal with it? Well, we have to change how we think. The game isn't about building the perfect, optimized portfolio. No, the game is about becoming a detective, hunting for the weak spots, the fragility, finding where the system is most likely to break when you push it.
And one of the best tools for this is to ask a really simple question for everything you own. If this one thing goes really wrong, how much does my whole portfolio hurt? That's called marginal risk contribution. It's not about how much that one thing can fall. It's about how much of your entire portfolio it can drag down with it. That's how you find the true drivers of your risk.
So this all boils down to one really personal question for you to think about. When you look at everything you own, can you find it? Can you find the one thing, the one factor, the one hidden dependency that it all secretly relies on? Because a lot of portfolios that look diversified on the outside are really just making one big hidden bet. And your job is to find that bet before the market finds it for you.
And that really brings us to the big takeaway, the whole point of this explainer. The real job of managing risk isn't about tweaking things to get the best possible return. It's a stress mapping exercise. It's like being a structural engineer for your portfolio. You're stress testing it, looking for where the cracks might appear. So the real question isn't, is my portfolio optimal? The question is my portfolio survivable?